quite an honor to be here. Thank you so much for hosting me. Particularly this room means a lot to me. So many of my friends are here. People I really got inspired when I moved, like the peak, they're here. A lot of my friends who have done amazing things, they're here. I'm very thankful, of course, to my family that has made this happen. But particularly, I want to thank my wife. She's here, Mariam, all through the journey to actually, get me here. But first of all, let's talk through. Let's see if I can flip the slides along. If the thing that has inspired me throughout my life actually was not 1 to 0. It is a story that has been with me, I'd like to share with you. It is actually a story of 1 to 0, losing everything. And it is the story of my mother. She was born many months after her father was killed by a bomb. Not only her father was killed, all her uncles and aunts, maybe one except one, and all the father's cousins and their children, they were all killed. Dozens of people were killed in one day. You lose everything from 1 to 0 in a day. The life shatters. My grandmother, when she moved to Pakistan in 1947, she was alone, 18-year-old single mother with my mother born, and she was committed to just take care of her daughter. Never remarried, and actually made back from 0 to 1. Every time when I have looked at things which look difficult, every time we talk about things, starting something and taking to some place, everything looks so easy for me. If that is something that is in my mind every time. And it just happened, as I mentioned to you, just in a single day. Right? And that's the inspiration I take with me. But let's talk about bending the future. First of all, let's think about why do we want to bend the future? Why do you want to bend the future? Why are you here? It's Saturday morning, you could be having fun or sleeping. As like our daughter will tell, I took her out of the bed. The reason we were here, would you not actually have a world in which everyone is safe and secure and respected? Would you not have the world which is everyone have health care, every disease can be actually cured? Would you not have the world in which you will have everyone has access to information and education? It's not true everywhere, right? It is not true everywhere that people have access to healthcare. Not even clean water. Would you not be a great world in which there is no famine? People have food to eat. The world that exists today, it asks the future to be bended. Future to be bended. Because what would be better? And the reason you're here, because I can tell you, somewhere in your mind, you want to bend the future. Otherwise, you will have no reason to be here, sitting in the morning, other than meeting friends and networking. So where does it actually really start? Where does it really start? It does not start with an idea. It does not start with making money. It does not start with career growth. It does not start there. It is not a journey of intelligence. It is not a journey of skill. It truly is not. It is truly a journey of obsession. You get obsessed. You get obsessed with something that is so core to your heart that you really want to bend it. Maybe you want to cure cancer. Maybe you want to make sure the world actually has education, or children have education. Or maybe you want to improve the way the people do work and have have the work, spend all of the day. It starts with obsession. And you will see the people who actually bend the world, bend the future, is just very obsessed with minutest of things, because you can't really bend the whole universe. What you're going to do is to bend tiny little things at a time. When Atik started his company, processors, he changed the trajectory of the architecture of the processor should be done. When Rajan started his multi-core processor, he changed how multi-core should be done. They were obsessed. They were really obsessed with what needs to be done. But there are so many other things that requires, when you go on your journey, it is not the idea, it is journey of your heart, it's the guts, the courage. I know you're all struggling with this clicker a little bit. It jumps on its own. It starts with these things that are not taught in the school. Which curriculum teaches you this in the school? It's just born in you. Courage. Imagine you're going to go on a journey and build something. You don't have courage. This is suffering every day. A journey of entrepreneurship is a journey of suffering every day. Uncertainty. You don't know where you're going to end up. Without the courage, without the ability to fall and get back up again, the grit, the perseverance, you would not, nobody is able to actually persist. Deep in your gut, when things are really, really bad, you have faith. You can tell it why you have faith that things will work out, but you have faith. It is that faith persists you. It carries you forward. You can be as bright as you can be, as brilliant as you can be, as much skill as you may have. If you do not have that faith and the courage and the grit to grind it through every day, you're not going to bend the world. You're not going to bend the future. Right? And many other things, not maybe explicitly taught. Easier said than done. Integrity. Integrity. It is a very thrown around world, in the world around the world. But if you don't have integrity, on everything that you do in your process of bending the world, building the products, you will do the wrong thing. You will make wrong choices because they're easy to do. They're just easy to do. You're not going to build the right product. You're not going to think about what customers care about. You're not going to take care of people because it's an easier thing to do. But if you're grounded in every step through integrity, maybe there are hard things you do, you will persist and go through it. If you can't put yourself in the shoes of others, your team, your customer, if you don't have that empathy in you, you're not going to build the right product either, not the right service either, you're not going to serve them better either, or you're not going to take care of your team either. That empathy is not skill, is not intelligence. It's just very much needed. It's a very different dimension that you need to have. People should be able to depend on you. If you really want to build something, people should be able to depend on you. Of course, every day you're making judgments. Tiny, big, but you're making judgments and teams counting on you. People are counting on you. It is very important, and of course, you're taking these judgments without clarity of data. There is no, if it was mathematical, it would be so easy, anybody can do it. But you're making judgments with fog in front of you. You don't know exactly where the world was going to go, but you're still making judgments. And you're using your intuition along the way. No question, skill, the hard work that you have to put in your own profession, It is a must-have. It is a must-have. Nothing can be done without that. And a lot of luck. Lot of luck. Lot of prayers. Thank God I have a lot of people who pray for me. My parents, Mariam's parents, everyone prays for me. Mariam, like a lot of prayers. You could have done everything right. You could have worked your butt off, but you can still fail. This has to line up. And which means, remember, it is not everything is in your control. But you want to do to make sure you're lining up things to luck may strike. Luck may strike someplace, you don't just want to be there, right, at the same time. So, I'm going to talk about, these are of course many things you would actually have. I want to talk a bit about 3 things. If you really want to do something, 3 things that you'll have to do. The very first thing is, start defining. Because if you're not defined, because if you're not different, because if you're not thinking anything different, you're not going to create change, you're not going to bend the world. You're not going to bend the future. Often people are obsessed with something. They see something which others can't see. They see something. The norm looks disturbing to them. It's very disturbing to them. They're seeing something to make the world better. But often the norm has a lot of inertia. If you're not defined, and rejection that you're going to get, not rejection, but rejections that's what you're going to get, it can wear you down. And just make sure that when starting you're very defined and you don't care at a certain extent. I'll tell you little stories. When we started Vicorus, and I'm not here to tell my stories, but just so that you can relate to it. When we started Vicorus, the thesis was that people should have internet in their pocket. Remember, this is hardly BlackBerry times. People only could hardly do texts or maybe small emails. So when you go out and talk about it, you get smirked. Like, why would you need extremely high performant, wireless 4G solution? Shtala is sitting here, he's smiling. He was the one who's doing a bunch of cool stuff there. But you have to persist because you're seeing something which is not. Thank God, iPhone showed up. Luck, timing is right. That when we had the product, and it was 50x faster than others, the world flipped you away. You already bended you away. Everyone needed it. Everyone wanted to actually have that level of performance and intelligence in the solution. When you actually, when we were in Elastica, the whole thesis was when we saw the consumers were using Dropbox and enterprises using very old archaic way of coming to the office, logging to the desktop and use some crappy app, we thought the world would change. SaaS will take off. Which means the security across all of it, cybersecurity, entire stack needs to be done differently. But nobody believed it. To the point, I'll tell you, when we went out, I personally went out and talked to CISOs, the security teams, CIOs, their answer used to be, we will not allow SaaS to happen in our company. You're talking about security for SaaS, which will do something different. But there was conviction that the world will change, and we will change the way cybersecurity is done. And literally within 2 years, it was just all SaaS. And this became the hottest topic for 3 years in a row, the hottest topic in the industry. I'll skip through a little bit of that. The second thing, let's say you have picked your direction, and you have conviction, and you're going. This is not going to be a straight journey. It's easy to say, act defiantly. The whole world is against you. Investors don't believe you. Employees you're trying to hire, team that you're trying to hire, they sometimes can't see it. And of course, there is no customers in the beginning. There's no one. You're alone. but you still don't go on your journey. Keep in mind, boldly doesn't mean loudly. Boldly doesn't mean rashly. Boldly actually means calmly. Because when you're calm, you can think. Because if you're not calm, a very different part of your brain takes over. You panic. You have fear. You can't sleep. You have anxiety. You can't make right decisions because you're not fully functioning. It's not taught in the school. I wish it was taught and tested in the schools. And you'll see the entrepreneurs, and like many of you in this room, you see them, you can tell them they will do very well. Because even when things are going really bad, they actually are calm, they can execute, they can make the right decisions. You know why it's also important? Because if you actually have a team and your partners that you're working with, humans have an innate ability to sense it. They can sense it. If you are not bold and calm, guess what's going to happen to the people behind you? One layer down. And guess what's going to happen to people even further? Because people are not listening to you in your team. They're actually copying you for the right reasons. Right? And you need your leadership team, which actually thinks the same way, which actually acts the same way. And how do you, the other issue you're going to face is, you may do all these things, but how do you actually have teams that innately like that? Innately. How do you interview for it? How do you interview for this thing? All these things. You can interview for coding skills. If you're really going to interview for somebody who's really good at sales, which is hard, but how do you interview for things that are just, you have to judge? And if you do the right judgments, you will build people around the team who are the real magic. Because not just you, it's the team that is going to carry this thing forward. The third thing, as you act boldly and calmly and all, customers don't give a damn about it. Important, of course, steps along the way, but let me actually see if the clicker works. I'll give you a couple of examples of that. When we were doing Vicorus, and sometimes in crisis, every time there's a company that has been, at least I'm a part of, a crisis hits so bad that the world has just changed, and you can't do anything about it. You have to persist through it. Vicorus, the first company that I was doing, we were raising Series C funding. We didn't have much cash left. We were raising Series C. We had term sheet that actually was given, about $50 million, which was a lot of money at that point in time. And term sheet came, and right next to it, a days later, the deepest recession in US basically happened. You didn't know that term sheet is going to close or not going to close, money is going to come, or going to shut down your doors. Panic. I've seen panic. In my board, they didn't know we're going to get money. These are investors. They didn't know. Because everyone had put their pens down, shutters down, no money. People are losing money, left and right, in the investments. We persisted by making sure all your mental abilities are there and you're actually involving all the partners who needed us through and through. Luckily, we persisted. I'll tell you a little bit. We can build tech, but not this clicker. I can lead the clicker. I can lead the teams. Yes, so the story of Security, yeah. Security was started roughly in 2019. We actually have very clear conviction that you need a platform, not point products, which is again difficult at that point to raise money. But we had very first use case of privacy and literally took off in 2019. We just started the company, built the products very quickly, the amazing team. Some of the team members are here, Kala is here. We basically built an amazing platform. It took off, won the RSA best of the RSA, best company of the RSA award. COVID hit. And the use case that we had, which was like on a supercharge, and everyone was trying to put money into the company, it just evaporated in a day. The customers with a big pipeline, we were closing customers in the very first year, and it just disappeared. And we did not know when this will come back. Right? And at that point in time, again, you want to make sure that your team stays cohesive and persists through these kind of major shocks to your system. The third thing which is important, if I can go back, let's see. Yes. If you're in tech, you're building something that somebody cares about. You're building something for somebody, and they need to care about what you're building. You may be thinking you're building the future. If your customers don't think and they're not willing to at some point write a check for it, you're not going to be able to do that for that very long. And the only way to do it, and this is where most companies fail. They have defined the right idea, they are obsessed, they are acting boldly, they fail to excel. And why that is important? Because in tech, mediocrity has only one name. Mediocrity is death. It's simply death. You're going to live a painful life if anything that is being done, the entrepreneurs who don't take this thing seriously, and they actually think, well, I built something, it's a pretty cool idea, yeah, I'm one of the 20 players, are very painful life. And eventually death. May take long. And that actually is important. And this one is probably, I would say, it is not just you, it is not just your leadership team. That basically culture that you build inside the company, that people really, at individual level, they are aspiring to be their best. Because in a company, there's no one function. You know that. You have all kinds of functions. And if any of the functions are not performing when they need to perform, you will have very hard time actually to get into a place where the company needs to be successful. Right? It's like a car. In a car, there are probably, thousands of parts. One part, tire, spark plug, one battery, not performing, your car will stop or will not perform and when it should be performed. And that's actually in the culture that you have to build. It should be beneath your team's own dignity. It should be, and you have to have people like that who feel like that if they are not the top of their own profession, that it should be beneath their dignity. And it is not easily interviewable. You have to assess. You have to bring the right teams. Not you. Your leadership team is bringing the right teams. And then, because it's beneath them to actually not be at the top of the game, they create a culture where everyone feels like it's beneath them to be not at the top of the game. It's very important. And then they all, in the team, you have to make sure they all understand. And it's not that you can give them a lecture and they start doing it. It's about how the rest of the leadership team is behaving. It kind of works that way. super important that mediocrity, just keep in mind, whatever you're doing, is just that. Other important thing, which is in tech, particularly tech, many of you in Silicon Valley, many people are visiting, but most of you are here, and most likely tied to tech. If you're not the number 1 or 2 player, actually the outcomes are not very great often. There may be some outcomes. You want to become the category king. Easiest as that done. Often you will define your own category because you defined, you started that way, because you went on a path where nobody saw, you ended up defining a category. Often it could be that you defined a category and somebody else took over and they have become the king. But if you do it right, what you really want to do is to form that category and be the king of that category. Right? Because many people will copy you. If something takes off, you will see a lot of copycats, which is good for them. If you really care about that purpose, it's okay. But of course, it's not okay for your business. And the only way to do it is to become basically the category king. So these are 3 things. I'll repeat it. Number 1, act defiantly, think differently, because that's where you're going to bend the future. If you're just the same, then you're not bending the future. Somebody else is. And keep in mind that often when you're obsessed with something, we talk about obsession. If the obsession is with making money, imagine, product and service that you're building is here. Somebody's obsessed with it, and they want to go that way, and they're going to build something. If somebody's just obsessed with making money, because I ask some entrepreneurs, why are you doing it? And they say, that's the way to make money. And I tell them, if that's what you think, that's the worst way to actually, you're going to lose all the money. You stay at your job. You're going to lose even your job. Only things get done is not because you're obsessed with making money. You're obsessed with solving a problem. You're thinking differently. Number 1, that thing. Act defiantly. Act boldly, because you're going a different path. And it's lonely. And it's going to be a lot of rejections. And the third thing is, keep in mind, if you don't excel and somebody else is excelling, it is not going to be a great outcome. And you did bend the world, somebody else is, which is maybe for your purpose, it may still be okay. So really, why I'm here, and you feel free to ask any questions depending on how much time is remaining. In this room, there are a lot of talented people who are aspiring. Because I talk to many of them, I get emails and LinkedIn and messages, thankfully. I know there's a lot of aspiration there. And in fact, I will say that we are so lucky to be sitting in Silicon Valley in this room together. And you have all kinds of opportunities, particularly I'll say, where the world is today, right now, because you have to capture the inflection points. The world, some inflection points have to be there. Because you can't change the whole thing by yourself. The AI, it is one of the biggest inflection points in the history of entire humanity ever. Maybe by 10x, 100x more. And we are right at the beginnings of that. If you're passionate about something, pick that, understand what the world will look like with this AI transformation. And that is your biggest opportunity. And don't think small. Think big. Think how you can actually make the biggest difference. Because the only way to get rewarded back is that you make somebody's life better. If you're making lives of a lot of people better, you'll get rewarded back. But don't start with the reward first. Don't think reward first. Because reward may not come for a decade. But this is an unbelievably good time to think how, if you're passionate about something, how you could bend the future. But thank you very much, I appreciate it.